Hello everybody and welcome back to the InTouch Machine Edition training video series. Today's video covers tags. The course description for this course is we're going to provide an understanding of just what tags are in InTouch Machine Edition. Course objectives: upon completion of this course you should be able to understand what tags are, the various ways to create them, the different types of tags that there are in InTouch Machine Edition, and understand and create classes, understand what tag properties are, and get a general understanding of what tag scope is. So let's talk a little bit about tags. Simply put, tags are just variables used to receive information from communication devices, from inputs on the screen, things of that nature. And essentially they can be used to display information, manipulate screen objects, and to control runtime tasks. But they are not only variables and storage locations. As you'll see, there's much more to them than that. The basic types of tags that we have are the tag types that we have. There's a basic tag that really just holds a single value. We can do arrays, and arrays are a set of tags with the same name but unique indexes. We can have classes, which are really structures. And then we can use indirect tag types, and those are pointers that provide access to another tag's value just by giving it the name. And we'll do a demonstration of these as well. So what data types are available? The Boolean tag type, which is just a single bit. It's either an on or an off, a false or a true, a 0 or 1. And it's essentially equivalent to a bool in C++, if you're familiar with that. And it's typically used for turning objects on and off, or for closing and opening things, or showing status of on or off, or open or closed, or this mode or that mode. An integer is 4 bytes, which is 32 bits, which can show a signed number between negative and positive 2.1 something 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 billion, whatever the 32 bits work out to be. It's essentially the equivalent of a signed long integer. And some examples are 0 and 5 and negative 200 and negative 10,000 and positive 2 billion. So you can have a whole lot of variations in there. Just no numbers after the decimal point. That's where the real type comes in. The real tag data type is floating point. It's 8 bytes long, so 64 bits, and it's equivalent to a double data type in C++. It's often used for measurements, things that are going to show decimal values or fractional values, and so you can get some pretty high precision out of that. Strings are alphanumeric data, and it can hold up to 1,024 characters. And so things like the names of recipes, the names of reports, part numbers that might have more than just numbers in them. Alphanumerics can hold dates. For example, the string star 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 space on space star 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 could be in there as well. And for those of you who know what this is, it supports both ASCII and Unicode characters. ASCII is the character sets that's been around in computers for a long, long time. And traditionally it was 128 characters. They bumped it up to 256 characters. But Unicode fonts and Unicode characters now give you the ability really to show any language that you could possibly imagine. And InTouch Machine Edition supports both ASCII and Unicode as well. And something neat to show, and we're going to talk about this when we define classes, but in addition to these 4 basic data types, you can also use a class that has been previously created, and I'll show you that when we get into classes. So when creating tags, where are the various places that you can create tags at? Let me drag in an InTouch Machine Edition window here and show you the different places. We can do it from the ribbon, which would be done here under the Insert tab. You can click on Class, and that will prompt you to enter the information for a new tag. You can see here that this could be a Boolean, an integer, a real, or a string. So that's one place here up on the ribbon. You can also do it here under the Global tab in the Project Explorer. You can open up this project tags and do it from the datasheet view, or even from the tag list here. So we can go here under datasheet view and you can right click and insert a tag there, or you can open up the datasheet view by double clicking and then typing in your tag in here as well. So that's another way to do it. And yet another way to do this is if we go into, let's say we create a screen here. If we don't already have one, I'm going to go to the graphics tab and right click on screens and click insert. I'm just going to leave everything as default here. Let's say I wanted to make a bar graph, and so I choose a rectangle, apply a bar graph animation, and don't worry about doing this because we're going to create a lot more of this in a future video. We're going to start with a foundation and let you build on this. Right now I'm just trying to show you some examples, so don't necessarily try to follow along, but you can if you want to. So I've applied a bar graph animation to this. I'm going to double click, and here in the tag expression field, maybe I'm going to put a value of temperature in here. Or I should say not a value, but a tag name in here. Because that tag doesn't exist, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and it will prompt me, because it doesn't exist, hey, that doesn't exist. Do you want to create this tag? So I'll click on yes, and there it will prompt me to enter the information for that tag. So those are some of the various ways that we can enter tags. Another way, and let's just go create tag here. Now I bailed out of that process. Let me go create a tag name here, and just to get some ideas. Now let me get rid of this column here because that's not normally default, and we'll talk about that in a later video or a different video. Let me copy this row here, so that has the tag name, the array size, the type, description, and scope. And then what I'm going to do is go and open up an Excel spreadsheet. Let me pull this in here, and I'm going to paste that format out. Well, what I'm going to do is, because what I'm going to create are all going to be no array size, they're going to be integers and server scope, is I'm just going to paste those down in here. And then maybe what I want to do is create some tags, motor 1, motor 2, motor 3. Well, I can use Excel here and just drag this down, and maybe I'm going to create 10 new tags here called motor 1 through motor 10. Now by using Excel and dragging that down, it auto-filled that for me. I can just copy these, come back into InTouch Machine Edition, and paste in here. So I can right click and click paste. But I want to show you before, well, this will work. Let me do this. I'll just click paste, and that will paste all of those in there. So a lot of you will have already predefined your I/O for your PLC, and maybe you have tag names for that depending on your PLC. So now you can just open up Excel, reorient the columns as necessary, and then bring that information in. There's also a way to do it via the import wizard as well. So those are some different ways to bring in the tags there. So let me get this off a screen. Let me close this. And so we have we did it from the ribbon, from the datasheet view. Let me talk a bit about scope. We'll cover this more in depth when we get to the different thin clients, but you have a choice here of server scope and local scope, and for the most part you're just going to leave it on server scope. Now where this is used is when you're talking and dealing with thin clients. When you have a thin client, an InTouch Machine Edition thin client, essentially it has kind of a virtual copy of the tag database on a remote machine. Well, if you have it set up, if they have the tag set up as server scope, the value of all of those tags, whether it's on a thin client, on the runtime PC, or other thin clients, those are all going to have the same value. For example, if you type in a set point on a thin client, let's say thin client number 1, it's going to go back to the runtime, update the value on that, and then update clients 2 through whatever, so that everybody has the same value. If this is set to local scope, then everybody has their own unique value. So if you change a set point on thin client 1, it will have a value. Potentially the runtime will have a different value, and all of the other clients might have their own unique values. So that's essentially what that does, and we'll talk more about that when we get to the thin client videos. But for now, most people will just leave that to server, and that will be okay for most applications. Let's see, moving on. Okay, when you create a tag, the syntax of that is it must begin with a letter. After that, you can use any combination of letters, numbers, or the underscore character. So it has to start with a letter, and after that, you can only use letters, numbers, and underscores. There is a maximum number of 255 characters for the name of the tag, and that's not to be confused with, let me go back up a slide here. That's not to be confused with the 1024 characters that could be contained in a string tag. The name of the string could be up to 255 characters, but what's contained inside of that can be up to 1024 characters. So make sure you understand the difference of that as well. Application tags, project tags, must be unique from all other tag names and built-in function names, so you can't have tags that match some of the system tags or some of the built-in scripting functions. And important thing to note is tags are not case sensitive. So if you use a tag, for example, of auto mode, and now I don't have that tag created, but auto mode, and auto are all the same tag. So you can use mixed case, you can use all lowercase, all uppercase, or a combination of however you want to do that. But just be aware that if you put an underscore in there, let's say you do auto underscore mode, that is a different tag. So while it's not case sensitive, underscores do matter. So be aware of that. Moving along, we're going to talk a little bit about tag properties. Now I mentioned that tags are not just simple values. So for example here, let me go create that tag called auto mode. So now I can set this up and you can see that now this one is going to be bad because I don't have auto mode, so let's delete that. I can have a value in there, and again you can see that all of those are the same. But in addition to tags holding a value, tags also have something associated with them called tag properties. Now, tag properties are spelled out in some detail here in the technical reference. How you can get to that here is under tags and tag properties, and if you expand this, there is a list of the tag properties. So you can see that there are things like the name, the array size, the quality. One that I'll demonstrate here is the timestamp, units, and the bit, if you want to get individual bits within an integer, and even the alarm limits. So let's give you an example of some of these. Let's pull this out of the way. And let's take, for example, that auto mode. I just changed that a few seconds ago, and we'll get at the property of that now. Before I do this, let me go back to the presentation here. The syntax is actually the tag name, a minus, greater than, and the property. And where you can find that is here in the help at the very top of this. You can see tag name minus, greater than, property. And to use it, let's say, for example, if I take a look at this auto mode, here, auto mode, and then by just doing that, that will give me the value. But if I use that syntax minus, greater than, and let's say, for example, timestamp, you can see that the time and date down to the millisecond when that tag last changed value. So for example, at 2 p.m., 48 minutes, 57 seconds, it was the last time that changed value. And if I change it now, you should be able to see that timestamp change. So if I hit enter here, you can see that it changed to just a few minutes longer. So a few seconds longer there. So you can see how that timestamp works. where we can get at things like some of the other properties, there's a few different places to get at those, and you can see, for example, in this column here in the help, which ones are readable only, which ones are read-write. So for example, you can set up the minimum and the maximum to during runtime for a particular tag, or you can read or write a bit with an individual tag. So let's take an idea of the units. Maybe we have a tag, I didn't create it earlier, so let's go and create a tag called temperature. And so now one of the things we can do is we can right click up here in this title bar here and add more columns for more properties here, and maybe I'll get to units. And so here under temperature we'll add degrees F for degrees Fahrenheit. And so now you can see that we have that property associated with that. How we can take a look at that is just by using that syntax, and that is minus greater than, that would be unit, and you can see there it's degree F. And let me close this, and now if I change this from degree F to degrees C, and then I open up that datasheet view again, you can see that that has changed to degrees C. Another place that you can get at some of the tag properties is up here in this on the Home tab. Let me maximize this out here a little bit. On the Home tab up here under this tag section, if I use this object finder, you can see that I have my tags listed here, and if I get at temperature, say OK, now I can go to the properties of that, and you can see here is my unit property that I have, so I can get at some of those. Also, I can get at some of my alarm properties. So for example, the limits, I shouldn't say alarm properties, the alarm limits. So if I have a high limit for an alarm, let's say that that's set up at maybe it's 90, and so did I do that on temperature? I think I did. So if we get at temperature minus greater than high limit, you can see that that's set up at 90. And so we can also get at alarm properties through this. And then also you can get at those, and we'll explain this in a little bit more detail if we insert an alarm worksheet. If you have the tag properties set up for that, let's do temperature here. You know what, I don't want to retype that, so what I'm going to do is double click on that cell, grab temperature, say OK. If I save this alarm worksheet and then open it back up here, let's close these. You can see that that has an alarm limit of 90, so that's just the same property there. So a few different places that you can get at those. So that pretty much describes properties, and we'll come back and do some more stuff here in a second here. So I did timestamp, I did high limit, and also you can get at bits within integers as well. That's a little before it's time there. So some of the next things that I want to talk about are arrays. So let's take a look. So right now I have, if we go here in the datasheet view, I have just kind of basic tags, and I've done all integer types here. I can see that very easily because this icon in the front here is represents an integer. Maybe auto mode is instead it's going to be a Boolean. And now when I hit enter, you can see that that's just a square wave there representing an off or an on. And maybe a tag name might actually have be a string. So you can see that little icon there. And so let's, there's a few different icons that represent the different types as well. So let's talk about arrays. Instead of creating individual tags for motors like I did here with motor 1, motor 2, motor 3, let's maybe make one called pump. And instead of making pump 1, 2, 3 through 10, what I might do is give that, make that an array and make the maximum element number 10. Now, I don't know if you notice this, but actually that when I typed in the array number here, I got square brackets around the icon. That denotes that it's an array, or it can be an array. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to create yet another tag called pump num, or for pump number, and that'll be an integer, and I'm going to use that as the index to reference different pumps. So let's go ahead and remove all of these. I'll delete those, and now I'm going to look at pump bracket 1 bracket, and currently that has a value of 0. So let's put a value of 123 in there, and then put in pump bracket 2 bracket, and maybe that has a value of 456. I'm not sure what units those are. I don't care at this point for this demonstration. What I wanted to point out is those indexes can actually be a tag name as well. So for example, I could have pump bracket pump num close square bracket, and right now, because pump num is 0, it's pointing to index 0, which I don't have defined yet, or which default to 0. And if I change the value of pump num, which is 0, let's point that to pump number 1, and you can see now I get the value from pump number 1. If I change that to pump number 2, I get the value out of pump number 2. So that's a way that I can use indexes to very quickly start to create some nice, very easily readable tags. So let's take this another step further and talk about indirect addressing. In a kind of a similar fashion, but a little bit different, is if I want to, let me create a tag called my pointer, and that tag is going to be a string type tag here. And now I can use that tag to point to any other tag, regardless of type. So here I'm changing just the index to point to different pumps. But now what I can do is, if I have this tag called my pointer, and I put in a value, let's now how we use this, or the syntax for this, is an @ sign in front of it, and then the name of the pointer tag, which in this case is my pointer. And now what it's pointing to right now is nothing. That's why I get a bad result here in the quality. If I point this to pump num, I'll get the value out of the pump num tag. So what's happening here is I'm using the string that's contained in this tag, and when I use the @ sign in front of it, it knows to go get the tag that's named pump num in this case and get the value for it and return that. I can also use this to get arrays as well. So for example, if I have pump square bracket 1 close square bracket, it will get me the value out of that array. And in a minute you'll see that this also works with classes. So what is a class? It's a great segue into classes. Classes are a way for you to create your own kind of structures. So while we're on this topic, if you see here, when I think when I entered this, I had I forget the number of tags, but that increased it by that number of tags. So every element or every index within the array counts towards your tag count. A couple other things to notice. Now I've put a 10 in here. What this is actually an 11 element array because it starts at 0. This is not the size, this is the maximum element number. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10. So there's actually 11 indexes there. Why did I do 10 if I wanted 10 pumps? Sometimes it makes it more humanly readable if I start at the number 1. So for example, if you were to label your pumps out in the real world, you're probably not going to label them pump 0 through pump 10. If you have 11 pumps, you would probably label them 1 through whatever, not starting at 0. So you have the choice of either wasting a tag or utilizing it some other way, or numbering a system that might not be very humanly readable. All right, so that's what I wanted to show you some more on counting your tags and arrays. So now let's move on to classes. So classes, again, are structures that you can create. So I'm going to right click and click Insert Class. Also notice that up here on the ribbon you can insert a class from up here. So I'm going to right click, insert a class. Now this is just my convention that I recommend. You can do this however you would like to. You don't have to do this, but when I name classes, I put a lowercase c in front of the name of the class. That way it lets me know that that's the name of the class. I'm going to call this tank or C tank. And when I hit OK, then what I'm entering here, these are not tags at this point. These are members. So let's say in a tank, I might have a temperature, a pressure, a level, and then the contents of what's inside of the tank. CONTENTS, and maybe the contents, if you're going to write what's on there, we'd have that as a string. Maybe the level is a percentage, and the pressure is a real, and the temperature is a real. So you can notice we can have mixed member types, mixed data types within a class. And again, these are not tags at this point. They are members of the class, in this case called ctank. This is one of the reasons why I can have a tag out here called temperature and a member here called temperature, because this is not a tag here. And I'll show you how we'll get to this. I'm going to save this, and now if I create a tag called tank, not ctank but tank, I can choose the type ctank, and now that's utilizing that structure for that tag called tank. And let's say that I have 3, or in this case 4 tanks. So notice that when I made that class type, that it changed to a little manila folder there. And if let's say I have 3 tanks, actually that's 4, notice that my tag count jumps up quite quickly. That's because I have now those 4 members times 4. So I just added 16 tags because I have 4 members inside of that class, 4 members inside of that, and I just made an array of 4, which is again the maximum element number, so 0, 1, 2, and 3, that's 4. And so I just added 16 tags just by that. So now, how do I get to those? One way to get to those, or the syntax to get to those values, is the name of the tag, in this case it's tank, the element number. Let's say I want to get to tank 1, which is in square brackets tank 1 dot, and then the member number within it, so temperature. So you can see that's a 0. Let's put in there 5, 6, 7. And if I want to get to tank 2 dot temperature, and maybe put in there 987. So you can see now how I can build that structure and get to different tanks, temperatures, levels, pressures, things of that nature. A couple things to point out. Yes, I can do kind of an index, replace this number with a tag just like I did up here with pump. I can do that. And to make it easy for you, we have this object finder. So if I double click on a field, it'll bring up the object finder, and I can kind of build that structure as I go. So if you forget the syntax for this, let me show you how you can use that. So I pick the tag in this case called tank, and here I would go index, and I can choose the number by itself, or I can choose a tag. So maybe I would choose a pump number for the tank in there as well. So notice that this put square brackets around that. Maybe I don't like that. I can go back and choose pump or tank number 1, and then I can choose the members. So this will expose the list. Maybe I want to do the temperature for that. And so that's essentially that same thing up there, but I wanted to show you how you can build that using the object finder as well. Now let's take this another step further, and let's use the pointer method that we used before. So if I change this tag to tank bracket 1 close square bracket dot temperature, you can see that this at my pointer will then reference that tag, which will then get that value. And I believe it goes bidirectional as well, so I can write to that tag, or I can read from the original tag. Let's go just change this to 5, 6, 7, 8, so you can see how useful that is. So that gives you some more information on how to work with classes and using indirects as well. I talked a bit about tag properties, some quick notes, some things to talk about. InTouch Machine Edition considers 0 as false and non-zero as true. So let's say we have an auto mode. 0 is considered false, 1 is considered true, but also 2 is considered true. Now I can't put that into a Boolean, but let's say I have an integer here. 2 is considered true, 3 is considered true. Anything non-zero is considered true. So 100, 1 million, and even negative numbers are considered true. So negative 12, because it's non-zero, is also considered true. So if you're using an integer to represent a true or false, just be aware of that works that way by default. I pointed out the icon, so I'm looking at some notes off the screen, make sure I cover everything. I talked about copy and paste from Excel. Some things to note. If you're here in the, I don't have access to -12 index here, so let's just put that back, and I can delete those output messages. You can see how quickly it picked up on that. If you need to delete a tag, you cannot be running your project locally if you can do that. So if you right-click and hit delete line, if that's grayed out, then make sure your project is stop if you have that feature available. But so you can delete that line. Also, when you're here in this interface, note that you can sort these alphabetically. By default, the project tag list in the datasheet view is in the order that you created those tags. If you want to, you can sort those in alphabetical order or reverse alphabetical order by descending and do that. So I'm going to disable that sort. And another thing that you can do is you can filter the tags, filter what you want to see. In this case, I want maybe just the tags that start with the letter M, so I can just hit the letter M, and that will only show me those. Show me just the tags that begin with the letter T. So there's tag name, temperature, and the class tag called tank. If I want to unfilter that, and I can also use wildcards. I can use star for a wildcard for all characters, and then I can use a question mark for individual characters as well. So that shows me a way that I can filter those as well. One more thing to talk about is the cross-reference. If we take a look, let me go back. I think I deleted my screen. I'm going to insert new screen, and I'm going to put that bar graph back on the screen. I apologize that I deleted that here. And let's put in a tag called temperature again. I'm going to just put it right here in the bar graph. And let me show you that because I clicked on that kind of quick here. So that's temperature is in that. And let's save this screen, and we'll save it as main. So now this screen is the main screen. I'll make sure that I do that. And now if I go into the object finder here, and notice here that because I have a fairly long list of tags, my tags that start with the letter T have scrolled off the bottom of the screen. I'm going to hit the letter T up here, and that then filters this, similar to that filtering mechanism at the project tag list. So that provides you a very easy way to do that. So I'm going to click on temperature there, click OK. And now that I have that up here, I can click on cross-reference, and that will appear down in this tab here down in the output window. So when I click on cross-reference, it'll look, and oh, look at that. I also had it in my alarm worksheet as well. So here's the main screen. A nice feature is it not only tells you what object it is, but I can double click on that. It will open up the screen and zoom me right to that particular object. So again, I'm going to close that screen. I'm going to double click on that. It opened that screen, selected it, and showed me the properties. Now let's see if we can do the same thing with the alarm worksheet. Yeah, it tells me it's on row 1 and row 2, so it's on both of those. So that's a good way to do that. So. Let's see, anything else that I wanted to show? Maximum element number, I talked about that. In InTouch Machine Edition, the arrays are not multi-dimensional. They're only single-dimensional arrays. If you need multiple dimensional arrays, you can use VB script. That will allow you to do multiple dimensional arrays, but right now we only support single-dimensional arrays. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to show you on tags. We got some tools here for doing some tag replacing within your project, things of that nature. So That'll be it for now for tags, and I'm sure we'll cover more information about tags as we get into future videos. So for more information, you can always take a look at the Wonderware training site, the blog, or even the Wonderware Development Network for more information. So thank you for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed it and got some good information out of this video. Hope to see you again in the next videos.